Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Grant Thornton webinar on the impact of budget 2021 on the real estate sector. Uh, uh, so I think the general feel, I think before I introduced my expert panel members who are going to provide detailed insights on the budget impact on the real estate sector, I guess the general feel about the budget for 2021, it's more like a get well soon kind of budget. And that's a general feel. There were few very bold announcements which were made by the finance minister on the budget around job creation. I think definitely some of those steps which have been announced with significant capital allocation on the infrastructure and healthcare are definitely going to go a long way in creating jobs, which is effectively far lagging due to the pandemic. And the announcements around the real estate was albeit little very limited. There were a couple of announcements for the real estate sector directly. There was announcement for affordable housing, both for developers and for the customers alike. The extension, the extension of the tax benefit of 1.5 lakhs, which was extended by 1 more year, and to address the supply of affordable housing, developers has also provided 1 more year of extension for the income tax benefit. At least what we have seen over last 3 days or last, at least even today, last 3 days, that market seems to have cheered the budget significantly. All sectoral indices are up significantly, including reality index as well. So definitely there is, other than couple of announcements on the real estate piece directly, there is something clearly in the budget which will go a long way and have a definitely positive impact on the real estate sector also. I think in order to understand those impact and detail, get some more insights, we have got a very experienced panel members lined up for today's discussion. I'd like to quickly introduce and welcome our esteemed panel. I would like to welcome first Mr. Murli, who is a chairman and managing director of Shriram Properties. He is a renowned name in the real estate space. Shriram Properties is one of the leading real estate companies based out of Bangalore, with significant projects in Chennai, Bangalore, and Kolkata, as well as in Coimbatore. Under Mr. Murli's leadership, Shriram Property had received one of the highest share of foreign direct investment in India till date. So welcome, Mr. Murli. We are very glad to have you on board. Thank you. Our next guest is Mr. Ravi Agarwal, who is a co-founder and managing director of Signature Global Housing Group. This is a company based out of Gurgaon with a significant focus on affordable housing. Mr. Ravi is a chartered accountant by profession and is currently responsible. He became the co-founder and managing director of Signature Global Group in 2013. And he currently takes care of finance, fundraising, legal, overall business development, planning, sales, and customer relations management of the company. Welcome, Mr. Ravi. We will like to hear more about impact of the budget on real estate from you as well. We are also joined by Mr. Sriram Chituri, who is a founder of Gesture, a co-living startup, which is providing housing solutions to the migrant urban youth. He is also the founding president of Rental Housing Association of India, which is on its kind a great organization in the making. He is also a director in Shanders Group, which was established way back in 1918, which has got interest across manufacturing, agriculture, real estate development, defense, and rental housing alike. Sriram started the operating arm for Shanders co-living venture. He has got 35 years of experience in the real estate and construction industry. Welcome, Sriram, for our budget discussion today. Thank you. Last but not the least, we are also joined by Neeraj Sharma, who is an experienced chartered accountant with more than 20 years of experience in the real estate sector. He's a regular speaker in various industry forums like CII, FICCI, Naredco, and have authored multiple thought leadership and publications and media articles on the real estate and infrastructure sector. Welcome, Neeraj, to the panel. We're looking forward to hearing from all of you. I think my first question will be to Mr. Murli. Uh, so, Murli, I guess there were no direct announcement for the real estate sector per se. There were a couple of announcements on affordable housing, and there was one announcement on some tax exemption for notified rental housing. And again, there were other announcement related to some tax relief on dividend front for REIT and InvIT as well. However, there's no big bang announcement. How do you see the overall budget? It will impact the real estate sector per se. What are your thoughts there, sir?
Good morning, everyone. See, basically, real estate is not related to only real estate. It's a sentiment driven. There are two things, which is stock market and real estate is sentiment driven. So all these years we have struggled. Now, this is one of the best budget India has ever produced. I would compare, maybe slightly ahead of 1991 reforming budget, particularly when there was a crisis of COVID. The entire world has been crying. The budget, what has been produced by, finance minister, is the best, I would say, in the entire country so far. Basically, the positivity has been brought in. Feel-good factor has been brought in. Overall, when people are expecting COVID tax to come in, various other forms of taxes to come in. Whenever there was a crisis, it was a usual practice all over the world. Tax the richer and pass on the benefit to the poor. That has not been done. Still, they are talking about, serving the poor, serving the needy community. Still, they are talking about, raising this capital through various means without taxing the regular middle class community. Something phenomenal. Whoever has done it, the thought process which has gone behind this incredible thought process. So that is the basic parameter for the mood for real estate index to go up, or real estate parameter to go up. It's just not real estate per se. Having said that, there has been quite a lot has been done for boosting this sector. For example, the public spending, which has gone up. See, all that money will come back into the system. There has been three major areas. One is road. Huge amounts of money which has been earmarked for road development. I think it is after 2000 in Vajpayee government, they have allocated big sums of money for roads. After that, I think 20 years later, the equal trust has been provided for road development, which will bring real estate closer to the people, closer to the heart, and also will become, bring in a lot of competitiveness. The second one is a lot of spending on shipping and transport. There's another major area. Third one, I do not know how many people have noticed, they are starting towards privatizing the railways also. They talked about east to north, east to west, then north to Vijayawada. So these three are most important rail network. They are talking about, I'm yet to read the complete detail, but they are talking about kind of privatizing the routes itself. Probably if that clicks, railways, maybe in the next 5 years time, we could see a huge revolution in that side. We can see that. This is the second one. Third one on this privatization of some of the PSUs, something phenomenal. And they are talking about rising about 10 to 11 crores. I think looks like next to 6 to 8 months time they'll be able to do it, is my view, including Air India. People were, in fact, yesterday someone was interviewing with me asking about how realistic the Air India sale. Will there be a buyer at all? Yes, Air India is a tough choice, whereas there has been a lot of other good diamonds are there. So if you package it well, I'm sure Air India also can get sold. So it's a very well balanced, good positivity. All these will result into people having positive mood, and also cash in the hands of people who are ideal candidates for real estate purchase. So you have not, knocked off their purse. So money will be available with people who are genuinely needed for real estate for us, home builders, or my friends here. So all of them, it's very, very, very relevant. Apart from that, affordable housing, that 1 year extension on the tax, there is no TDS. So all that is a very positive one. Though we can still talk about why GST pass-through has not been done. That's one setback, I would say. But there are about 99 positives. One negative, I think we can live with that, and always we can go back and plead with the ministry to consider that request also. But it's a very well balanced budget. I expect not only real estate, every industry, has to use this opportunity to shoot themselves up. If they do not do it, we cannot blame government anymore.
Thank you, Murli. I think you're always optimistic in whatever interaction I've had in the past with you. Thank you for giving us all that perspective. So I completely agree to some extent, absolutely, that infrastructure development will directly, I think all our cities are effectively suffering from congestion. And the key reason what I have interacted with various developers, why most of the homes are costly or the cost of construction is high, is primarily because of land cost. So if a developer wants to acquire a land little outside the city, because the infrastructure is so poor, so it is very difficult for people to kind of buy an apartment there or house there and travel back to their workplace in the city. So definitely, I think infrastructure or road development, the kind of capital or capex allocation which is there as a part of the budget, will have a direct impact on the real estate sector. So thanks, Murli, for bringing that perspective. So my next question is to Mr. Ravi. So on affordable housing, so I am aware that Signature Global has significant focus on affordable housing, and your group has a big proponent, I think, of how to make houses affordable for the middle class and the lower income group. Do you think that the announcements around affordable housings were enough to kind of spur demand or at least maintain the momentum which you have seen in the recent past?
Thank you, Alok, for giving me this opportunity to interact with such kind of people who are interacting with the industry as a whole. For, what can I say? The government focus housing for all. I think so. The government has re-endorsed that thing. Presently, in affordable housing segment, the demand is huge. Demand is going ready, getting so up, and even this present post-COVID year, the demand is manifold. I just want to add up one more thing. Uh, in even in Signature Global, what I witnessed in this NCR region itself, I think so more than 150% demand has been increased in affordable housing segment only, and government knows about this. That's why they know if they want to provide the house people, only the affordable housing segment that can address that kind of thing. And on that things, I think so on three sides they are giving us the support. First one, that is the sales. Already the home loan interest is at the lowest minimum of the industry, I think, history. It is just 7%. I think so. If we adjust the uh, hedging part from the offshore, that is 5%. That is, means the effective cost actually 2%. And secondly, the seal by giving the sales benefit, that is 3.5% kind of benefit. And even after that, what is the cost the customer is incurring? They are giving us the benefit of 1.5 lakhs annually as an interest benefit kind of under ATC. If we conclude the things in the overall segment, and even on the developer side, they are giving the benefit of ATIB.
Right.
If we conclude it in a total manner for the customer, what the interest even the customer is giving, they are giving us the benefit in 1.5 lakhs.
Right.
In total, I think so this is the best budget, and they are endorsing the housing for all.
Right, right, right. No, no, Ravi, one follow-up question there. So, obviously, if what critics will say that if you net off, it is affordable housing the way they have defined. There was a pending demand to extend the ceiling limit from 45 lakhs to maybe 55 or 60 lakhs. That was the industry demand. Because what happens typically that when you look at the interest rate, absolutely bang on, it is at the lowest level in last 15 years. And if you take the benefit of CLS is a benefit of 3.5%, that subsidy, interest subsidy which government is providing. So net interest cost will never be more than 2 lakhs for the buyer. So that the extended benefit of 1.5 lakhs will never translate into actual cash savings for the buyer effectively. So do you think that is really an incentive which has been provided to the buyer of affordable housing?
The affordable housing is up to 45 lakhs. Presently, the government is up to 45
Right.
lakhs. It's a
Right.
benefit for the persons, even for who are buying home at 30 lakhs level.
Right. Right.
Even at 30 lakhs level, it's a benefit.
Right. Right.
And yes, I think so. There is segment who is living in even Gurgaon, and we are giving homes at 25 lakhs level, a 2 BHK apartment. It's beneficial for them.
Right.
It's a partial benefit. It's not 100% benefit, but at 25 level, kind of level, I think so it will 100% benefit.
Sure. Great. So now moving to Sriram, I guess Sriram, you will be delighted. I can see the smile already on your face that there was some announcement regarding rental housing. I'm not sure whether it's enough. So I think, what are your thoughts? So what the budget has granted tax relief from income from notified houses. So obviously, we don't know what category, what are the eligible projects which will qualify for this benefit in the rental housing scheme. But at least the government is thinking about rental housing, right? So what are your thoughts? I know that you have been the voice beyond rental housing, and you believe that India has a great opportunity to build or create a new asset class where all developers can participate equally, rather than looking at a brownfield project. There's a huge opportunity for investment and to make money. So your thoughts, Sriram, on that?
This is a good start, I can say. Yes, you're right. This would not be enough, but it's a very, very good start. It's a bold statement by the government of India. It shows seriousness of government of India towards rental housing. And COVID has thankfully taught us that housing for all doesn't mean only ownership of housing, but also housing as a service. And this great announcement which has happened, is a step in the direction. So what's going to happen because of this announcement is two things. One, government of India is trying to direct capital towards these projects, rental housing projects. And the notified rental housing projects are basically the projects under the ARHC model. In the Atmanirbhar Bharat announcements, the government of India has released ARHC policy, it's Affordable Rental Housing Complex policy. And these are the notified projects, and these projects are eligible for the income tax benefit. So that's what has been sort of reinstated in the budget and will be ratified in the budget. And this policy announcement is going to, one, direct capital towards rental housing stock, creation of rental housing stock, and two, which will help and take us a long way in creating quality rental housing stock, which are going to provide affordable, healthy, hygienic living conditions for the youth of the nation, for the pride of our nation. So today, the youth of the nation do not have access to good quality housing because of the rampant migration which has happened over the last few years. Rental housing has never got its due share in the whole scheme of housing currently. So now I think it's getting recognized, and this will definitely help us go around.
Right. A great point, Sriram. I think one follow-up question there, that rental yields in India, right? So we have seen clearly that the commercial properties has been the blue-eyed category of asset class for investors recently. At least in the last 5-6 years, we have seen a significant amount of capital flows for that particular asset class. Too much money chasing similar high-quality commercial real estate assets. How do you think that, what is really the issue that if rental housing has to boom in India, and rental yields being so low, and that has been a deterrent? At least some of the investors, formally, informally, we have seen that the rental yields being so low, I think it doesn't make sense for them to kind of get into that. So how do you think that has to change, Sriram? What are the key changes, both from developer, operator, as well as government? How all of these three particles or effectively three pillars have to come together to kind of increase the yield, make it attractive both for the consumer as well as for the investor?
See, if you look at the housing industry per se, right from the 80s, government just acted as an enabler of providing housing. The government never provided housing per se. And private sector took a major role in providing housing as a product. And housing was never a service earlier till date. So if you look at the models of real estate, which got created over the last 30, 40 years, it's been more as a driven through product. And we have gone, if you look at the demographics of our country, we are going from joint families to nuclear families. So the house sizes of the houses are quite big, and which are not really required in the current nuclear family system. But the inefficiencies in form of design and all still continue to exist because market needed it as a product. But in a service model, a lot of efficiency which can come in the design, which will sort of shrink the house size, and essentially what affordable housing is today, to try to provide access to housing for the lower middle class and other population segment of our country. So in the similar ways, once the efficiency is brought in the design of the houses, automatically yields go up. So currently, all the rental housing properties are offering anywhere yields between 6 to 10%, which are almost equal to commercial yields. So that's the whole thing. So essentially, it's to do with efficiency. And once this trust has come towards rental housing, and once capital starts getting formed in this whole space, we'll keep getting efficient products. More and more builders will be doing build-to-rent products. So till now, builders are doing build to sell. So we've been building all these years only for the intention of selling. It's not intention of building, for renting. So the BTR products are sort of emerging now. And I'm sure this trend is going to catch up, and more BTR products will lead to higher yields, and it will attract a lot more capital into this space. So it's like as rightly pointed, we're at the cusp of the change happening. It's like the early 90s of the software industry, and there was nothing. And in the last 20-25 years, we've seen the entire change happening. So I think we are exactly at the same stage, which is essentially necessitated because of the changing demographics. The need has come today because of the changing demographics, with 65% of the population being under 35. So that's right. The macro factor which is driving the whole thing.
And I think absolutely very valid points. I think I have noted down for my notes key word there is that build to rent versus build to sell, right? So I think that definitely is one of the key reasons why yields may have not really been always lying very low, and there were not enough choices available to the customers. So effectively, they had to pick up an apartment in a society which was made to sell, and precisely that could be the reason. So absolutely bang on, Sriram. Thank you for that perspective. Coming back to Neeraj, I think there was a relief which was granted on the applicability of TDS on dividend paid by InvIT and REITs. Now, effectively, it is at par with other corporate entities, which is effectively taxable on the hands of recipient. How do you think this small tinkering with this provision of TDS is going to go a long way, or will it have any impact on the sector per se in terms of capital flows?
Yeah, sure. So I think, before I talk about this specific, development, let me just spend a couple of minutes on the REITs, journey in India. While, India has been a little, late in really embracing this REIT, platform. But, having said that, government each year has been trying to, give some sort of incentive. An idea has always been, what the large investors have looked at, while they used to compare the REIT sort of returns with more matured markets around US, Singapore, etc. I think the idea, and some of the corporates, were always, I would say, on the fence. They were sort of ready with their quality assets, but I think there was some hesitation around, do you really will be able to make those kind of, returns, with this platform? I think I would say, couple of years, or rather last, I would say, 8 to 12 months, that ceiling has been sort of, I would say, broken. I think couple of REITs in India have already demonstrated, the kind of returns one could really get, and which has really made REITs, I would say, possibility to a reality now. We seem to hear a lot of companies are sitting on very, very high quality assets, And I think there should be some, capital action with few corporates in next, 8 to 12 months. While this development sound, and you said a small tinkering, that's a very modest way of saying, but I think that's very, in terms of enhancing the liquidity, it's very, very important. And I think there's one more thing which has happened. One is around this TDS, relaxation. The other is also around the raising of debt at the REIT level. I think both, put together, to my mind, would really make this, investment platform very, very attractive. And I'm reasonably certain to see that more REITs should now start hitting the market very, very soon. I mean, that'll be my perspective on this.
Right. Very, very useful. so, Neeraj, I think coming back, I think one follow-up question there on the REIT. So definitely there are certain net worth or minimum capital requirement for an entity to go for a REIT. Do you think that government could have relaxed that a little bit? Because we have seen that because of the capital or the size limitation, there are many startups which are emerging around fractional ownership, right? So because like retail investors, you and I, if want to participate directly and get benefited from the rental yields of a commercial asset, we have seen a lot of startups coming up with a fractional ownership model. Do you think government could have done something there in terms of relooking at some of the eligibility criteria for companies to launch a REIT?
Yeah. So I think this was something very actively debated, and I'm if I can remember correctly, this was one of the asks that had gone to the government through various associations. But I guess government wants to give it some more time and look at how more REITs perform and what kind of stability that then investor gets in terms of those returns. And I guess something we can look forward to in very recent time, because I think this government may not wait for the next budget to do all those announcements. I think that trend has also been changed, so you can see a lot of things happening during the course of the year as well.
Right, and absolutely. Thank you, Neeraj, for that perspective. So coming back to Murli again. So Murli, I think availability in the COVID, we saw that there was a significant cash flow crunch with the collapse of NBFCs, which are effectively acting as a shadow bank. There was a scarcity of capital for real estate companies significantly. And availability of construction finance was very, very difficult. We saw a major consolidation in the industry, which happened. A lot of small developers effectively vanished from the map, from India's development map. So how do you think that post-budget 2021, is that going to change significantly? Do you expect that to improve, or will the budget have any impact on the availability of capital per se for the sector?
Unfortunately, the answer is no. As I read, as of now, not only COVID, even before the era and all that, have led to, eliminating all the small-time players. Unfortunately, now it's only the game for biggies. But one positive point is, because of the privatizing the PSUs and all that, and some of the banks, there were rumors that IDBI is also in the list. So probably the private sector banks can come with a lot of capital. That's a hope now. And because of the capital raising ability now, which is a lever provided now, so some of the banks and also some NBFCs, if they can raise a lot of capital, there is a potential, then that money can come into the sector. Otherwise, that is still not addressed. It's a concern. But having said that, today the market is fully consolidated. It's about top 50, 60 developers cater to about 85 to 90% of the market today. Those 50, 60 developers are not having too much of trouble today to raise these working capital needed. So hence, to that extent, problem is much smaller. But having said that, the infrastructure now, there is a lot of thrust. This is one ask from me, whether if you look at any real estate project, apart from your land and the building, close to about 20% of the project cost gets into infrastructure, whether it is the, water supply or sewage treatment plant, those related infrastructure, which cost close to about 20%. Whether there can be a special provision, because again, it's a national asset which is being created. It is not supposed to be done by a real estate developer. He should be worrying only about land cost and the building what he's doing it. But in the last about 15 years, it has become a customary practice that real estate developer is also expected to contribute on the infrastructure, which has increased the cost by more than 20%. If Government of India, and it's a national asset which is created, it is not, for example, in a project, if you provide electricity, let's say 1,000 units we build, it's not only those 1,000 units we provide the basic infra, electricity or water supply or sewage disposal, that whatever the infra which is built by us, which is going to serve the nearby another 10,000, 20,000 homes. So that's a big advantage which is available to the government. Hence, government, if they can allow in the overall project, if they can allow this 20% money which is spent on infra, if they allow ECB to be permitted or some long-term capital to be allowed at a cheaper cost, then that can benefit the real estate development. Thus, it can help, the asset creation in a much larger scale. So that's a bit of a concern. That's for the smaller developers. But the smaller developer era is getting over, is my sense at this point of time. So I don't think, they can come back because this, things have really changed. The kind of, play the larger developers can do and reach what they can do today. I don't think, smaller developers, unless there is a very niche product, niche location, it will be very small, minuscule. It won't be even 1-2%. So these 90-95%, the larger developers, I'm sure they'll find ways and means to address their problems.
No, thank you, Muli, for bringing that up. And I completely agree that, and that's a very valid points you made, that why can't, just like RERA, where there is a limitation that you can use the money only for construction purpose, similar escrow mechanism, why can't 20%, if you're saying 20% is overall cost, is to the infrastructure cost, which benefits the overall society, and infrastructure as a sector or as a is something where ECB is allowed. Why can't even a real estate company, where they can clearly identify which are the cost which pertains to infrastructure development, why can't a real estate company raise ECB at a very lower cost of capital? Because a long pending demand of industry status is still not kind of granted to the sector, and which effectively has a direct impact on the cost of overall borrowing, whether it is available or not available, has a direct impact on the amount you can raise and as well as on the cost of funding. So point taken, Murli. Moving on to Mr. Ravi, I think there was a very high expectation that there will be some benefit in terms of input credit on GST, both for the under construction housing projects as well as for the commercial projects, which will be kind of provided in the budget. But that is something was not kind of announced. At least there was a demand for affordable housing developers that at least for certain category of assets like affordable houses with 45 lakhs value, if it was provided, it will bring down the overall cost of the product and bring down the price of the house on an overall basis. So unfortunately, that has not happened. So what do you think, Ravi, that government could have done, or what kind of other soaps or incentives they would have provided to affordable housing developers on this front?
Alok, as you were discussing with Mr. Murli, I want to add one more point on that financing side. I think so 2-3 years back, the government has given the status of infrastructure to affordable housing segment. But I think so the RBI has not yet notified that thing. That's
Sure.
why the banks are not giving the benefit of infrastructure to the affordable housing segment. That I want to reiterate on that.
Sure.
On this platform. I think so it will be, Mr. Murli is a good nexus with the many associations and the representations. I think he can be a great help on that. And secondly, on I think so on commercial property inputs and for the affordable housing segment or the input credit benefit, I think post Corona, the focus of the budget has been on the most critical sectors like health, infrastructure, housing. It has been provided for the help where it is most needed. The commercial sector has been doing extremely well over the last 4 years, though it has been hit by the pandemic during the last year. Yet it made credible recovery in Q3 2020 with a gross absorption rate of 7 million square feet by up by 58% quarter to quarter basis. I think so government is giving priority to the segment of infrastructure, housing, commercial assets will be recovered because in India the work from home culture is very temporary kind of culture. We know the post COVID when it will be opened and everything will be open, and by introducing these two things in NVIT and the REIT, that kind of benefit commercial sector will be highly benefit out of that. In the overall scenario, uh, if the input benefit for the housing segment will be given, then it will be always better because the housing is the main thing. That's basic roti kapda or makan. That is a basic need of a human being. I think the government is focusing on that. And if the input tax benefit has been given by the government on that segment, I think it will be better. But there are many priorities and everything can't be addressed.
No, I think valid points, Mr. Ravi. Definitely, I think Mr. Murli has heard your request. I'm sure at some point of time he will kind of help the overall developer community by putting it across and taking it through the right channels. Yeah. So moving to Mr. Sriram. So Sriram, I think on the rental housing, obviously, at least some of the key job markets like Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, if you see, these are the key drivers for job creation, and automatically we have seen significant migrant urban population coming to these three key cities looking for job, and that has kind of acted as a boom for the overall rental housing demand, right? Now with COVID and people working from home, they're working from their hometown, and not coming back to the respective job location very soon, with many companies announcing work from anywhere policy. Do you really think this will again be will have a significant impact on rental housing as an asset class per se? What are your thoughts on this, Sriram?
My sense is it's a temporary phenomenon. The proof of this is the absorption of office space, which Raviji just now said. So there's huge demand for office space, and absorption is happening the way it was happening. So it's just a temporary phenomenon, and it may not lead to reverse migration on a long-term basis. See, ultimately, if you see, life is not just work, right? Life, if you only work, then you can work from anywhere. But there's school infrastructure is required, the social infrastructure is required. Then access to other economic activities is required. You look at the youth, it is a startup world, it's a startup culture. So you will not have access to your network of people, you will not have access to your economic opportunities in a non-urban setup as of now. Good or bad, I'm not getting into that, but that's the fact of the day. And migration is a mega trend, I think, which is happening and which will continue to happen. So just it's a transient phenomena, and I'm sure with all this vaccine, good news happening on the vaccine front, I think very sooner or later things will come back to normalcy. And today I understand that offices have been permitted to operate 100% capacity from today. So I think that's a good move. And once some more cases are going down day by day, and once the vaccine rollout happens for the general public, I think things will come back to normal. Until as government wants to really create alternative cities like what they're sort of planning and create alternate infrastructure, and those are more long-term kind of a thing. Until as large-scale solutions are delivered, I don't think this reverse migration is really going to happen. So this is my sense.
I'll add up to Sriram. This work from home, I don't think is going to be real at all in India. Maybe real for about 1% of the population, working population. See, let's look at largest employer in this country, particularly urban employer. It is a ITBT. It's the largest employer. In the ITBT, if you take, any city, if you take, the migrant population to that city is close to about 80-85%. Now, whether it is Chennai or Bangalore or Hyderabad or Pune or Bombay, anywhere if you take, more than 80-85% people are from outside. One. The second one is about 90% are from the middle class section of society, maybe first time urban mover. And these guys, or I mean, who are the people who are joining at the age of 22, 23, 25, they look for experience. And Indians basically saving mentality, particularly the more the middle class, more the saving they will look at. A person who is first time getting, let's say, 30,000 rupees a month, or 20,000 rupees a month, or 40,000 rupees a month, for him, the family compulsions are such, will be at least about 70% of them. They need to make sure that they need to give back some money to their family. That's a compulsion with which 70% of the population in this sector, urban cities, they come with. Now, what do they do? If you look at any IT company you take, just walk in and do a survey. We did the survey. They all, stay in a shared accommodation. So essentially, many of the people, bachelors, they look at using the office gym, using the office canteen for subsidized food, and also, even the washroom. So that's a kind of one. It's not that home. It's not. They are living in a comfortable 2-bedroom house or single-bedroom house or 3-bedroom house. They are living in a shared accommodation, and they look for that experience, and they look for this kind of a subsidized food, subsidized other advantages. And the very purpose of coming into the city itself to get that experience. And it's just not the workplace. They would like to go out. This is the first time they are earning money in their hands. They would like to experiment mall. They would like to experiment various other city life. So if you say work from home, more than 50% of the fellows will, quit. So, which I'm sure the employers are aware. And I don't think work from home will work in India, at least for the next 7-8 years. Until otherwise, the overall, GDP, your per capita income moves up, which is another 10-15 years away. Before that, I don't see work from home is any real. It is possible for 1% for partners in large audit firms, or for, real white collar. So those people, it is possible. Otherwise, I doubt it is a possibility.
No, I agree. I think some of the very valid points, I think both Sriram and you made, that it is not only getting the job done. I think people migrate to cities for better infrastructure, better standard of living. The quality of life itself is very different in cities, hospitals, school. Right? Obviously, a lot of people have gone back because schools are also not operating. So definitely, schools are going to come back for sure. So that is not going to work from home kind of school. Homeschooling will not happen. That was a compulsion, and because of that, people will have to come back to their base location for sure. So definitely, I kind of agree with your perspective there, that work from home may be a temporary phenomena. It may have some impact, but not material. And given the size and scale we are talking, it may not have a significant impact. Now, so coming to Neeraj, I think in terms of the sector, the RERA, I think first it was RERA, then it was GST, and the legal structure of every real estate developer, that each project is under a separate SPV. So the overall compliance burden was very, very high and significant. And at least with RERA itself, the industry was grappling. Then it was GST. So there was a key announcement which was made, right, by the finance minister, which was part of the fine print, that now GST audit, which was a requirement earlier, is no more required. And you can file your return with self-attestation on a monthly or whatever the frequency of that filing is basis. So do you think it is a step in the right direction, or what are the other measures they could have done to bring down the compliance burden on the sector?
Yeah, no, of course, I think, this sector is anyway under a significant, burden of compliance. I think the over compliance has been, one of the, I would say, demands of rather simplifying over compliance, one of the demands of the sector. And you touched upon RERA. Let me give you, slightly a practical example. company like Shriram and Signature, where their projects may be into different states. While RERA was supposed to be a central act, and then state had to follow their own provisions. What's really happening is that every state has come up with their own set of provisions, which is also leading to multifold in the manner of compliances which are required. So a different state is asking for different returns. So I think there are, definitely there is some scope to standardize on the things, because at the end of the day, the act is central. The compliance should be central, like a lot of other acts that one needs to comply with. So I think there is definitely a huge scope of easing some of the compliances there. And I guess the government's overall theme of ease of doing business is very much there, and I'm sure through some associations, this should also be really should be really requested by this fraternity. And I guess simplification of GST audit or exemption from that is definitely, I would say, a very, very welcome step. I think GST also over a period of time has been very, very dynamic acts. I mean, there's been a lot of changes which are happening. I think from a developer or maybe a company's perspective, I think one is the stability of compliances, and also frequent changes should be avoided. We tend to hear a lot of changes which happen on a very, very frequent basis. I think the company are still in I would say in the journey of understanding the compliances, understanding their impact, and creating the right infrastructure to really ensure that the compliances are met with the right intent and on time. So I would say uh, uh, again, some scope there for the government to rethink around easing this burden around RERA also. But yes, having said that, GST audit is a big relief.
Definitely, I know that a lot of clients that we are already uploading everything on the portal. Why there's a requirement of getting another set of audit done? So that was a kind of more like a duplication. I think government has heard the industry, and not only real estate, across all the sectors. I guess this is a big relief for all sectors, including real estate per se. I think the other uh, announcement, which is very interesting, was on the national infrastructure pipeline, where it was launched earlier before the budget, and the FM kind of reinforced that we would like to take this forward because they were very happy with the outcome of that particular portal or the pipeline which was created, and they are looking to monetize uh, more assets which are there. So there is a very wide expectation in the sector that it has the potential to unlock value of some of the, or help the government to monetize some of the land parcels, like which they have through various government agencies across key cities like Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, right? There are port trust, for example, in Mumbai, and even in Delhi, some of the land parcels at prime locations are owned by the government. I think I would like to get views from everyone. I think if Mr. Murli would like to come in here, and do you think, Murli, that this effectively will government will use this platform to monetize and partner with the developers and monetize this asset in some of the key geographies, and which will definitely be a win-win situation both for the government and the developer?
It's not only this, there are a few things which they have done, which all very, very qualitative. Government also talked about this 100 cities gas piping. So there's another new asset class which is emerging today. So it's those days, about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, in our hometowns, there used to be a gas dealer, and that was a new business vertical which was coming up about 30 years ago. And those gas dealers or those petrol bunk dealers were becoming economic creators or wealth creators in the smaller towns. So now these 100 cities, this gas piping is a much, much larger scale today. So all these infrastructure activities which will create huge development activities in all the urban cities. To start with, 100 cities they're talking about, it will make a huge difference. I do not know how much real estate developers have a role to play in this, but definitely the infrastructure will become much more better and more qualitative. So hence, it's going to add value to the real estate development. But I would strongly recommend real estate developers to stay focused on real estate development rather than getting in, putting their hands in other places and getting stuck. So, for example, solar energy. A lot of people got into when this renewable energy came in. A lot of people went into it. I do not know how many survived or how many. I know most of them have lost their money. So probably people should restrict only to the related business. Unrelated business, if it is going to add value to it, just enjoy the benefit rather than getting into it. But it's going to bring a huge landscape change in the entire city, how it's going to develop. How it's going to provide opportunities.
Right. Mr. Ravi, do you think that there's an opportunity for government, because effectively through railways there's a huge land bank which is there already with the with government of India. So there's an opportunity for them to partner with real estate developers and unlock the value.
Sure, Alok. I think so. The maximum need of affordable housing is in the urban area. The maximum deficit of affordable housing is in the urban area only. And a lot of PSU lands are available. We have always treated these kind of things to the government. Means the kind of public-private partnership kind of model, if they can work for railway lands or some PSU lands, we can unlock the value with them, like the area sharing model basis, and where the capital environment is less, but the benefit to the government as well as the developer is better. That is a good thing. And some of the states even are starting doing that. If the central government is doing that thing, it will be a great effort.
Sure. Sriram, your thoughts? Do you think you have an opportunity to do with the government's focus on migrant labor and provide affordable rental housing to the migrant, both urban as well as blue-collared laborers as well alike, that you can partner with them and create a housing in and around factories where the land is provided by the government and you have a revenue sharing model?
It is a very, very, very great opportunity, let me say. See, there are some issues which were along the lease rights and all that, which I think government of India has recently set that right. Earlier, Rail Land Development Authority was supposed to be only able to give 30 years lease. Now they've changed that to 99 years lease. So it's more to do with the ownership pattern. That's the reason why this has not seen much of traction, even though 1.5 years ago they wanted to monetize these lands. And R&D has been very, very active. And now with this change of this 99-year lease, which is already made, I think this space is going to really drop, especially for even rental housing. For example, railway land, the cities are developed along the railway stations. So this will be core access to economic activity and all. That will be a very, very interesting thing. And even developers also would start looking at it from a build-to-sell models, would start looking at it because of the change in the lease rights which have been granted by the government. So with this, the ownership model and now bankable model, banks need to step in, figure out bankable models to fund such kind of projects, more from the developer's perspective and from the home loan perspective. And once that it becomes an acceptable tool, I think it will be a great source of supply of land.
Right. Absolutely, very, very valid. Thank you, gentlemen. I think we have come to the end of our session today. I just see that there are no questions as of now. So anybody in the audience have any questions for our expert panel? More than happy to put it across to them. Please do type in your questions on the chat box. If you have any questions, anything, any perspective or anything you'd like to understand from our expert panel here.
Before we wait for the questions, let me just add to
Sure.
on the earlier
Sure.
question. And I think something that Delhi government did last year as an experiment, wherein 10 million square feet of government land was actually put as part of the commercial development, and I think that is coming up very well. So I think this move is a very, very smart move, which takes care of, if done rightly, in a timely manner. I mean, this can look at the issues of employment generation. This can also address the issues of urbanization. Apart from, and some of the the new emerging asset class and the real estate, what Shriram is looking at. I think this can really address multiple issues of the government if this is done in a very timely manner. So I think very, very smart move of the government.
Couldn't agree more, Neeraj. Yeah,
the
couldn't
land
agree.
process.
Couldn't agree more, Neeraj. I think thanks for bringing that example up. So I think we have now come to the end of our session, and I'll just like to quickly summarize. I think very, very interesting points all of you made. I think there was a unanimous feel that this is a great budget, a bold budget. Yes, there were a few misses from a real estate perspective, but I think all of our panel members agreed that 90% of the demands were met indirectly. However, there were no direct announcement on the real estate piece, but I think they were graceful enough to applaud the finance minister in making some bold moves, which indirectly will benefit the real estate sector uh, directly by putting more money in the hands of the people of India, which indirectly will use that money to buy house and invest in real estate. The other emerging asset class, which Sriram highlighted, was on the build to rent versus build to sell. That will benefit not only the consumer because they will have many more choices. And if rental housing is created as a separate asset class, there could be a variety of offerings which will exist, and it will create that choice. Currently, the existing customer has very limited choice, so they can move to a semi-furnished or a furnished apartment without any service. So now offering housing as a service can definitely is a great asset class. And as he highlighted that if it is done right, the yields are alike or very similar to commercial asset class itself. So which will excite investors. Hopefully some of the investors are listening to this panel uh, with their ears and eyes open. So definitely there is a great opportunity for everyone to be happy there. Uh, I think on the fundraise piece, I think Murli and Mr. Ravi made a very good point that why not, when there is some element of infrastructure spending being done for real estate under the garb of real estate development as well, why not allow some limited amount with some kind of restrictions on raising foreign capital to fund some of the real estate development, which will bring down the overall cost of funding for the sector. So definitely, I think this is a recommendation which government hopefully will listen. And as Neeraj highlighted that generally they don't have to wait for the budget to kind of make any announcement. They are very receptive. We have seen that through several ordinances. They have come out with relief measures which were required for the industry as a whole. Uh, Again, I think the unanimous view was that work from home is temporary, is not going to work. It may be limited. So this is not a very new concept, at least for ITBT space. Work from home as a policy always existed. Yes, the acceptability has been much more because of COVID, but fortunately, unfortunately, in India, given the demography under which we operate, it may not really be productive going forward. And this is temporary. And as and when uh, we achieve herd immunity, vaccination program is completed, people will get their confidence back and come back to work and work from office. So I think so. Those were the key summary, at least key takeaway points for me, ladies and gentlemen, whoever is part of this webinar today. Thank you. I think we have come to end of our session. I think I know that from with the kind of panel we had today, I think we could have extracted a little bit more out of them. But maybe next time we will organize something similar where we can get your perspective on the sector per se again. I like to place on record, thank you for being with us today and sharing your insights on the budget impact of budget 2021 on the real estate sector.